All right, without further ado, our first guest this morning is a great one, a Portland native, a former Oregon State Beaver, and now a 13-year NFL veteran. Derek Anderson joining us this morning on Rip City Mornings with Dan and Nigel. Derek, good morning. How you doing?
Good, guys. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well.
Doing great.
Nigel just came off of like a 2-week vacation, so it's nice to have him back in the fold. He's been popping off all morning, like one of those guys who's been away for a while, has had a lot to think about, a lot to get off his chest. So he's rocking and rolling this morning.
2 weeks is kind of expensive, but I'll let it slide.
Yeah, it's also a bold-faced lie, DA. So don't.
More than a week. We can say more than a week. It wasn't a full 2 weeks.
10 days, that's a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so I guess I'm done with this interview. You guys go ahead and go. But no, man, it's great to hear your voice, DA. I guess first of all, people want to know kind of what's the latest with you, and have you officially wrapped it up, or are we thinking that the phone might ring at some point during this season when the team needs a quarterback with experience?
Kind of right in the middle of that right now, honestly. Had some conversations yesterday with some teams and trying to figure out what's going to happen. I've kind of had some stuff in my body I've been kind of dealing with for over a year now that I've just kind of been working through, and just want to make sure that it's right and I can, perform at a level that I know I'm capable of, and, before I do anything. But, I don't know. We'll see. Situation needs to be right, and and obviously my body needs to be right for me to go out there and do it. But I also would be perfectly okay with being done. So we're kind of working through it. I got 3 young kids and a family and a lot of other things to kind of put in the equation before I say yes or no.
Well, I mean, look, we talked about earlier on the show that the Seattle Seahawks actually offered a second-round pick for Jacoby Brissett, so they seem to still be in the market for a backup quarterback. And I don't know if you're not comfortable saying which team, but is there a chance that we don't have to fly all the way to Charlotte to watch you play? Is it somewhere a little bit closer to home?
It's not very close.
It's not very close. All right. Fair enough. And is it one of those things where you talk about your health of your body to where maybe it would be a best-case scenario to where you sit out this year, get yourself fully healthy, but you're concerned that if you do sit out that full year, they'll have looked past you as a guy who's retired as opposed to a guy who's still out there and available?
Yeah. I mean, I think my agents does a good job of making sure people understand what I've been kind of dealing with, and I don't know. I think if I'm out for a year, I'll probably just be done, just because it's hard. It's difficult to just rev your body back up. And get things going. You can train and you can do everything you want to do, but actually playing the game is something that you don't just just jump into and do after you've been sitting out for a year at 35 years old.
Yeah, for sure. And you've kind of been there through kind of this evolution of what's happening in football, where they try to, quote unquote, make the game safer, but at the same time still allow guys to play the sport that we remember. So as you've seen it evolve as a professional now, dating back to when you were drafted in 2005, does it feel safer to you in 2018 relative to 2005 when you first got into the league?
I was watching some stuff on Twitter yesterday, and I was like, I could sign up for this. They're getting dudes are getting flagged for just hitting the quarterback, and it was pretty mild, I would say. But I mean, I think the preseason, they always overdo it. They throw alignment penalties that they never throw during the regular season. They throw motion penalties they never throw during the regular season. I think they've kind of overdone their emphasis on the new helmet rule, and obviously they're going to have to look at it because people are going to be in an uproar in 2 weeks if they continue at this rate.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that people right now are maybe overreacting in that? Because that's kind of been my comment. I think referees will settle down because they don't want to affect the game, and they've kind of made their point in the preseason. Is that what you think is probably going to happen as well?
Yeah, I think so. I would see that. I mean, every year for the last 13 years, it's been that way. That you get in the preseason and they have a point of emphasis and they really pound that point, and then you get into the regular season about 2 weeks in, everybody kind of forgets about it. But to your question, though, I do think that since I first came into the league, it is definitely the hits that you take, the pounding, throughout the course of the game definitely became minimized to an extent, partially because I think guys don't want to, for me, they don't want to hit the quarterback. They don't want to pay $7,500. They don't want to pay $12,000 if it's their third offense. They don't want to pay $40,000 if it's their fourth offense. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, all right, they'll hit you, but they're not going to smash you like they used to. Like, I feel like my first couple of years, I literally was getting crushed like every week, and I'm like, you don't get that anymore. Especially I hate to say this, but especially the kind of the higher end notable guys. Those guys, they don't get. I mean, Tom Brady, he doesn't get smashed as much as I get smashed. I promise you that.
Well, to be fair, he also didn't play in Cleveland for all those years, so that was probably.
True, but they're not going to let him. They're not going to let him get crushed. Like he gets hit twice hard in every 3 weeks. I feel like.
Well, we're with 13-year NFL vet and former Oregon State Beaver. There's no such thing as former. So Oregon State Beaver alum Derek Anderson here with Rip City Mornings with Dan and Nigel. So I asked you what you're up to lately, and obviously there's some stuff, and you're thinking about still possibly playing. But I guess more immediately, have you had a chance to go back to Corvallis and see your old buddy Jonathan Smith, who you guys played together for, I'm trying to think, did you guys actually play together? But I know he was the GA when we were all there together, in at least in 2003. Have you had a chance to go back and watch the Beavers practice at all?
Yeah, actually, we Smee and I played when I was a freshman. He was a senior.
Right.
So that was a treat for me, and those guys kind of introduced me to traveling and throwing crackers in my bed and really messing with me my freshman year. It was fantastic. But
firecrackers, is that what you said?
No, him and Sterling put like crackers in my bed, like crackers, like go climb in the bed after meetings. I got crackers in my packed up like oyster crackers in my bed. It was fun. My family and I went down one day, and my son, he's only 2, but he's got used to going to practices, and we shot down there I think it was their first practice on Thursday. He wanted to go down there, and so we went down, and we ran around, actually the kids ran around. I watched a little bit of football and talked to Smitty and checked in with Coach Riley, and it was good. It was good. I think they're doing a good job down there, and I'm excited about what he brings to the table and kind of get this thing turned around and go in the right direction.
Is that when you look at him and you go to practice and you observe some of these things, and obviously, like you said, you're still looking to stay in the game if you can this season. You've got some people that are knocking on your door a little bit and talking to your agent. But what would happen next? Are you one of these guys just going to go away and go live your life and golf and hunt and fish, whatever you want to do? Or are you going to stay connected to the game once it's over?
I'm definitely not going to do anything right away. I think that I have the ability to coach, but I don't really know that I really want to. Nigel, it can be a grind, and do I really want to give up that time with my kids and my wife, and coming home at 11 o'clock midnight during the week and see them for a couple of days? That just doesn't really sound great to me. The money that they make, and you can do it for a long time, it does, it's appealing, but I think I'd be willing to give that part of it up to be able to spend some quality years of time with my kids. My oldest turns 4 next week, and youngest turns 1. So
oh, wow.
I still got I'm right in the middle of it right now.
Yeah. So you got a 4-year-old and what, a 2 or a 3-year-old?
Yeah, my daughter turns 4 on the 27th. My son's turned 2 in May, and then my youngest daughter will turn 1 on the 25th.
Wow. Well,
I'll be honest with you, Derek. Based on that, you might want to coach for a little bit, because then, there's no diaper changing. You're like,
you've been up for a solid 4 hours at least as of right now, right?
Yeah, my oldest woke me up this morning. We went to Starbucks, got her a little donut, she's actually sitting in the car with me right now, wondering what I'm doing.
Right.
I can't talk on the phone at the house because I have bad service down here, so I drove over to the golf course, and we're sitting here having a chat.
Well, there you go. That's how life works right now. You got to love it. You got to embrace it, and appreciate you embracing it with us here right now this morning for the next couple of minutes,
I mean,
Derek.
it's not bad.
Yeah. There could be things worse, right, in life than that?
Right.
I'm just saying, man, if you end up coaching until they get to be in maybe second, third grade,
Nigel avoided everything.
I'd understand. Because once I got out of the diaper duty, I was like, okay, cool, I'll be around. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
Right.
He's like, oh, no, they're fine. He's trying to I just have a recently turned 2-year-old, and so he's trying to counsel me on those first couple years. Like, dude, you were around until they were 4 or 5 years old. What are you talking about? But either way, we kid around on that. All right, before we let you go, expectations for how quickly Jonathan Smith can turn this thing back around at Oregon State. When you look at a program like this and really how long they've been fighting the grind, and it seems like there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. How many years before a program like this, in a best case scenario, can be fighting for things the way you guys were fighting for things back in the day?
I mean, honestly, I think it takes. You got to get one big recruiting class. You got to get a couple dudes. However you do it, you got to be able to find some guys you can build on. For instance, like our freshman year, we had like me, Bill Swancutt, Steven Jackson. We had some guys, and obviously we built on the success that they had the previous year, the Fiesta Bowl. But we started getting guys in, and you get one guy here, two guys there. And then you start fitting role players around those guys. It can turn pretty quickly. I think they're a couple years out. I think it's going to take a couple, pounding the pavement a little bit, going and finding some guys, having some guys, like Mike Hass that go from, being walk-ons to making plays. And those guys also need to start believing they can win football games. And I think Smitty's going to instill that in them. But I mean, when you've been where you've been, and not really understanding why you're losing, and once those guys start believing that they can win games, I think that changes things too. You got to have the right mindset, and then also you got to have the right guys in there to win games. So I give him a couple years. I think he's going to have some players and some guys that they can kind of build on, and I think he'll start getting things going in the right direction.
Well, once again, 13-year NFL vet and Oregon State Beaver, Derek Anderson, joining us on Rip City Mornings with Dan and Nigel. Last question before we let you go. You talked about the crackers in the bed, which, by the way, that's a great, a low-energy prank, something that's, it's funny yet won't get you in trouble. I got to ask, there's got to be a great Cam Newton story from back in the day when you played all those years in Carolina with him.
I mean, the dude's incredible. He's one of a kind. I got stories of meetings where I'm calling him and being like, dude, where you at? We got a meeting in 30 seconds. Coach looking at me like, where you at? He's like, huh? And I'm like, you get down here now. He's like, I'm in trouble. You're not here. And he's like, oh, okay. He comes running in the door. But one of my favorite ones and it's not really, I have tons of ones where we're fooling around making jokes, but his rookie year, we go to Arizona, first game of the year, and we had gone through every single play, pass route. I had him draw it. We talked it back and forth. We'd done all this stuff going into the week. And I think it was probably his first or second drive. He throws a touchdown to Steve Smith in the left corner. And he started on the left side, went to the right side, came back. He throws it, great throw, boom, boom. And I go to the sideline. I'm talking to him like, first of all, how did you get back over there? And second of all, did you even know what route he had? And so he kind of ignores me and doesn't even say anything. And then we watch it on tape, and he goes, I said, did you know that he had a pump 3, not a pump 2? And he was like, nope, I didn't, honestly. I'm not going to lie to you. He didn't even know. He totally forgot what route he was throwing in the middle of the play and just happened to throw it to Steve Smith in the end zone for about a 45-yard touchdown. I kind of thought it was comical. And today, last year we were laughing about it, how he throws for 456 yards or whatever it was in his first start and didn't really even know the place.
All right, well, so you obviously are a longtime admirer of Cam Newton being a teammate. So I got to ask you, one of the great subplots of the preseason so far, before we let you go, are you team Cam Newton or team Kelvin Benjamin?
So I've been asked multiple times from on the radio, obviously, but all of you guys my answer. I think that both of them, Cam did his part into getting KB to where he needed to be, and he pretty much put it all out there for him. And there was a little bit of disconnect, and in the end, KB was dealing with some, obviously his mother passed away before training camp. He was having some issues, and that's the thing kind of unraveled in that way. He had a hard time, grieving the loss of his mom, and she was a huge part of it. And he wasn't in great shape. I think everybody knew that. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And he struggled. But Cam and KB, I think, are always going to be buddies. Obviously the interaction they had during the preseason was they're both probably pretty frustrated with each other. But I think from KB's aspect, I don't think you go there. I think Cam did everything that he could to get KB to perform at a high level, and regardless of if you liked playing with the guy or not, I don't think you throw him under the bus saying criticizing his accuracy, because I don't think that's ever going to be something that's a big deal with Cam. Cam is Cam, and he brings a bunch of other things to the table. It's not necessarily throwing for 72% completion percentage.
All right. Well, I was only going to ask you that really because I wanted to see if Buffalo was the team calling you. Because if you said, "Oh, team Kelvin Benjamin all the way," then I knew who the team was on the phone trying to get your services here over the next few weeks. But hey, thanks a lot for the time.
I do like KB though. I do like him.
All right.
He was. When he first got there, obviously, and this is just we were sitting in the tub and I just kind of was like, kind of where you from, what you done? And I didn't really know anything about him. I knew obviously he played at Florida State, but to get where he has gotten and where he's come from, I think if everybody kind of knew his story, it's pretty incredible. I know you guys have probably heard of Muck City and all that, but that's probably one of the tougher areas in Florida, and for kids to come out of there and make it to the NFL. And it's actually very incredible. And to listen to him and let him explain the struggles that he went through early on in his life is really cool.
Yeah. Derek Anderson, thank you so much for your time this morning. No, nobody calls it that.
Yeah. Derek, I've been telling this idiot here next to me.
I lived in Florida for 25 years.
I go, the muck. And he's like, I don't know what there's nothing called the muck. To the point where he made me feel like I was stupid. And I'm like, I've recruited the muck. I've been there. And to finally have somebody co-sign on the muck and Muck City, thank you very much.
People who live in that town might call it Muck and Muck City, but nobody else in the state of Florida calls it that.
Thank you, Derek Anderson. You're the greatest quarterback of all time and our best guest because you finally put Dan Shelton in his place.
Hey, Derek, thanks so much. Hopefully we can talk to you soon.
Yeah, let's talk again. You guys take care. Thanks for having me.
All right, Derek Anderson, Oregon State Beaver, great.
And knows the state of Florida better than a guy who's from the state of Florida. And by the way, when he said they put crackers in his bed, it wasn't native Floridians. They didn't put native Floridians in his bed.
Cricket Hill.
They were
Cricket him right now.
Stop. Because that's stop. That was funny.
No,
because as soon as he said it, I go, right now Dan's really confused. He's really confused.
No.
Like
I thought he said firecrackers.
He put people in their beds?
No.
What? Native Floridians.
Anyway. Yeah, Belglade, Florida. Apparently, they like to call it the Muck.
Thank you.
No, I wasn't confirming that for you. I'm saying that's where he grew up, which is right there in the Everglades near Lake Okeechobee.
Also known as the Muck.
We're way over. How is it that for a week and a half or however long you're gone, we were on time? Now look at us. We're like 10 minutes late.
Yeah, that was my
Rich
fault.
Eisen.
I said last question, Derek. And then this guy goes, no, wait, I got one more.
Hey, it was a good question about Kelvin Benjamin versus Cam Newton. Up next, Rich Eisen from the NFL Network and The Rich Eisen Show. Rip City Mornings, Dan and Nigel, NBC Sports Northwest, Rip City Radio 620.
Say the Muck.
No.